Hey guys, welcome to this presentation. For this unit, this will be the 4 goals of progressivism. That is the unit that we're on. Hopefully you guys have a little bit of background knowledge on it. If not, it's okay. We'll go over it today and get you guys set up for the activity. So the learning targets today is just one, HID2. So explain ideas critical to the understanding of American history and analyze how they shaped American history. Learning objectives, students will be able to identify 3 of the goals of the progressive movement, and then students will be able to explain why certain industrial revolution rules and regulations needed to be fixed by the progressive movement. So a little bit of vocab review. We'll go through each one of these that you might have heard before in previous units. If not, we'll go over them. It's 14 of them. We'll go through them pretty quickly to give you guys a little bit of background knowledge that you will need for the activities. So if you are kind of lost, please watch this video and go through these slides because it will help you a lot. So the most important concept of the unit is the Industrial Revolution is the growing and spreading of factories changed our lives so much we could never go back to the way of life before the new technology and factories, right? So in this photo, it's the example of making clothes or shoes, right? So before the Industrial Revolution, it was the fact that we can only make one shoe with one person at a time, handmade. And now with the Industrial Revolution, there's machines that we can make 20, 30 shoes a day compared to just one a week or something like that. So it really revolutionized the way that we live and made access to goods a lot easier. So that's the biggest concept, is that it changed our lives so much that we can never go back to the way of life before the new technology. So a little bit of background on the vocab. We'll go through 1 through 14 here. The first one is industrialization. So remember, industry means factories. Therefore, industrialization is the growth and spreading of factories. To industrialize is to develop factories which allow things to be made quicker, right? So it's going from farms and farm fields to big, large factories and the growth of spread of those factories. Next is monopoly and trust. So if you break the word apart, mono means one and poly means many. So monopoly, when you put those together, is one seller and many buyers is what monopoly means. Remember, monopolists are the people who own a monopoly, and trust means the same thing as monopoly. So modern examples would be like Apple's monopoly, Disney's monopoly, and Google are all monopolies. Next is corrupt or corruption, so being dishonest or doing shady things for personal gain or money. That was happening a lot during the Industrial Revolution, and the progressive movement tried to stop this from happening any further. Next is political machine, so a corrupt and powerful group run by a boss that work together to control government and take advantage of others for power and money. That's what a political machine is. Next is muckraker. So a muckraker is someone who investigates the truth and digs through the muck, so dirt, trash, or filth, to expose or reveal a problem in society. So it's someone that investigates the truth through all the kind of dirty stuff in life and exposes the real problem in society. Progressive, so when you think about the progressive movement, what does progressive really mean? So progressive wants to change society for the better. They want to progress. So it's an upward trend, and they want to change it for the better. So that's what progressive means. And then reform or reformer, so a reform is a change toward improvement to literally reform or remake is what it means. And then a reformer is someone who wants or demands reform, so positive change. So someone who wants or demands positive change, basically another word for progressive. So someone who is a reformer is someone who wants positive change, and a reform is a change toward improvement. Legislation and the antitrust legislation. Legislation is a fancy word for law. That's all it really is. Therefore, antitrust legislation are laws that weaken or break apart monopolies, right? So antitrust legislation are going to be breaking up those monopolies. Present day, it could be Apple, Disney, or Google, and these laws would help break up those monopolies. Regulation. So regulations refer to rules put in place by government to make people safer or fix problems. Regulations typically limit the power or set rules businesses must follow, for example, minimum wage. So it really limits the power and sets businesses to a standard that they have to abide or follow by. And then when we get into the 4 goals of progressivism, we're going to be talking about political progressivism. So it's having to do with politics or government. Economic, remember, is something that has to do with the economy, so money and business. So when you think political, think government. When you think economics, think money. When you think about social, social is just another word for society. So when you see social progressivism movement, it's talking about the movement within the society. And then morals are kind of like having to do with behavior, what is seen as right and wrong, what do you do when no one's looking? That's what morals are. So when you think of moral progressivism, it's talking about the right way for people to have proper morals, doing what's right when no one's looking. The 4 goals of progressivism that you guys I'm gonna do one for you. I'm gonna do the moral reforms and the example of the activity, but you guys will have to identify the other 3. But the other 3 are economic reforms. So these reduce the power of monopolies and improve working conditions. Number 2, political reforms. They limit corruption in government and give power back to the people, not to the government, but to the people. And then number 3, social reforms, making society better by improving public health standards and helping the poor. So it's those public health standards from social reforms are talking about the child labor and the long hours with very little wage. And then moral reforms, which I will do for you guys in the example, is improving society's behavior to make society an overall better place to be. So those are the 4 goals of progressivism. You'll see them and identify them throughout the activity that you will do, but just want to give you guys a little bit of background so you know what to expect. And at this point, please start the activity now and refer to this video and the one that I do of actually doing the example for you in the video. They really will help. So obviously, if you're watching this one, you're off to a great start. And please let us know if you have any questions. So if you're watching this when we're virtual, please message us on Empower or email us. And if you are watching this while we're in person, please feel free to ask us, get up and ask us or raise your hand. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next video about the activity.